When the Terran delegation arrived at the crystalline palace of Lyrentha, everyone in the royal hall believed they already understood what humans were like. They had seen images, read reports, and heard rumors passed through dozens of star systems. To them, humans were a curious species, new to the wider galaxy, physically heavy compared to other races, and always covered in thick metal suits that looked old-fashioned compared to the elegant living armor of the Lyrenthians. To the people of Lyrentha, who valued beauty, symmetry, and refinement, humans seemed almost comical. Princess Shailara stood at the front of the hall, her dress flowing like liquid light, her skin reflecting soft shades of violet and silver. She was known for her intelligence, sharp humor, and bold personality. She greeted every new ambassador with confidence, and she always expected them to be fascinated by her world's charm and grace. Yet, when Captain Orion Hale stepped into the hall, armored from head to toe in a dull gray suit, she had to fight the urge to laugh. His armor was unlike anything her people used. It had no glow, no smooth curves, no living threads that responded to the wearer's emotions. It looked thick, simple, and heavy, almost like a relic from an older time. The princess tilted her head slightly, studying him with bright, curious eyes. She wondered why a species would choose to hide themselves behind such layers of metal. Was it fear, fragile skin, or simply a strange cultural habit? The Lyrenthians surrounding her exchanged amused looks. Their whispers floated through the air like gentle breezes. They spoke softly, but Shailara could sense their thoughts. Most of them believed that the human needed the armor because his body couldn't survive without protection. Others thought he wore it because humans wanted to look intimidating. A few simply believed humans didn't understand elegance the way other species did. Captain Orion, however, stood calm and silent. He walked with measured steps, every movement balanced and controlled. Although his armor looked ancient compared to the delicate crystalline structures around him, there was something strangely steady about him. He did not seem nervous or embarrassed, even though he could clearly sense the whispers and the glances. Shailara wasn't trying to be unkind when she let out a small laugh. Not loud, but light, musical, like a soft chime. She couldn't help it. It felt strange that someone would enter her father's glittering palace dressed as though he had come straight from a battlefield or a storm. "So this is human design?" she asked with a playful smile. "It looks very solid." Her voice carried through the hall, and a few members of the court chuckled with her. Orion looked at her for a moment and then gave a gentle nod. He seemed unfazed, even though her words could easily be taken as mockery. "It serves its purpose," he said politely, his voice calm and even. His simple answer only increased her curiosity. She stepped closer, her long hair shimmering like strands of moonlight. Standing in front of him, she noticed the size difference. Humans were shorter than Lyrenthians but carried a different type of weight, as if gravity embraced them more tightly. "You hide so much behind this armor," the princess said softly. "Do humans fear our world, or do you fear showing yourselves?" There was no insult in her tone, only honest curiosity mixed with gentle humor. Her people didn't hide their features. Lyrenthians saw their bodies as an expression of their culture, their history, and their harmony with nature. Their clothing was alive, their jewelry grown from crystal gardens, their skin luminous without effort. To them, the idea of covering themselves completely felt almost ridiculous. Orion did not step back or shift nervously. Instead, he simply observed her the way a patient teacher might watch a student ask a question. He could see that she wasn't trying to offend him. She was simply seeing something unfamiliar and reacting in the way her culture taught her to. Before he could reply, more whispers filled the hall. Some giggled softly, others looked openly curious. A few studied him like he was a puzzle they wanted to solve. Orion didn't blame them. Humans were new to this region of space, and their habits seemed unusual to many species. Shailara circled him slowly, examining the armor. "It looks heavy. How do you walk easily in it?" Orion smiled beneath the helmet. "Practice," he said. Her eyes brightened. She enjoyed his short answers, even if they didn't satisfy her curiosity fully. She stopped in front of him again and crossed her arms lightly. "Would you remove it?" she asked suddenly. The hall went silent. Everyone stared at her. A few gasped quietly. No one had ever seen a human without their environmental suit, at least not in public. The idea felt bold, improper, and incredibly fascinating. Even the advisors standing behind the princess looked surprised. Orion raised his head slightly. "You wish to see a human without armor?" "Yes," she replied with confidence. "Unless, of course, it is uncomfortable for you." Her tone suggested she expected him to decline. Most diplomats would refuse such a request. Revealing one's physical form to a foreign court was a matter of deep trust. It wasn't something done casually. But Orion nodded again, a tiny spark of amusement in his voice. "Very well." A ripple moved through the hall, like wind through tall grass. The princess blinked in surprise. She had been so certain he would refuse that she needed a moment to understand his answer. Before she could respond, Orion lifted his hands and released the small locking bolts on his gloves. The soft click echoed in the hall. Shailara leaned forward slightly, her eyes focused on his hands. When the gloves loosened and slid off, revealing human skin, a murmur ran through the court. His hands were not fragile as they had imagined. They were strong, slightly rough, showing signs of real physical effort, something rare in a culture where most tasks were performed by delicate machines or living technology. Her eyes widened. She had never seen hands like that. They seemed full of history. The princess felt her heart beat a little faster, not out of attraction, but pure astonishment. She had always believed humans were fragile. Now she wasn't so sure. Orion held the gloves calmly at his side, letting the court observe without rushing anything. To him, removing the armor wasn't a performance. It was simply honesty. He understood that they laughed not out of cruelty, but because they had only seen a small piece of the truth. The princess found herself suddenly quiet. Her earlier amusement faded, replaced by a deeper curiosity. She took a small step closer, studying the human hands with fresh eyes. "You are different from what I expected," she whispered. Orion nodded gently. "Most people expect something else." Her court watched silently, waiting to see what would happen next. The princess looked around the hall, then back at the human standing before her. For the first time since the delegation arrived, she realized she might have misjudged humans. Their armor was not a sign of fear. It might be a sign of something else, something she did not yet understand. And that realization made her want to learn more. The hall remained quiet after Captain Orion removed his gloves, and every pair of Lyranthian eyes focused on the human standing calmly in the center. Princess Shailara found herself unable to look away. She had expected him to hesitate, to refuse, or maybe to appear embarrassed in front of the court. Instead, he behaved as if removing part of his armor was the most natural thing in the world. The princess tried to speak, but the words were not easy to find. She had grown up in a world where appearance meant everything. Every Lyranthian was born with gentle light in their skin, a natural glow that shifted with their emotions. Their bodies changed colors with mood, temperature, or excitement. She had been taught that this beauty was a sign of balance and harmony. Seeing a being who did not glow, who did not shimmer, yet stood so confidently without any armor on his hands, confused her more than she wanted to admit. The court waited to see what she would say. A princess of Lyrantha was expected to be clever, poised, and always in control. But at that moment, she felt something unfamiliar. She felt unsure. "You really do not mind?" she finally asked, her voice softer than before. Orion glanced at his unarmored hands, then back at her. "If you wish to understand humans," he said gently, "sometimes it helps to see us as we are." His simple words carried more meaning than she expected. She realized he wasn't doing this to impress her. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He simply respected her curiosity. That alone made him different from many ambassadors she had met. Shaylara stepped a bit closer, studying the details of his skin. The small lines on his knuckles, the faint marks that hinted at old tasks or challenges he once faced. Lyrenthians almost never had marks on their skin. Any injury healed perfectly, leaving no trace. To her, the slight imperfections on Orion's hands were strange, but somehow meaningful, like reading a story written with tiny lines. Before she could ask more, one of the advisors behind her cleared his throat. His voice echoed through the silent hall. "Princess, perhaps we should not ask our guest to reveal more than he is comfortable with." Shaylara turned her head slightly, but did not step back from Orion. She shook her head politely. "He chose to show us," she replied. Then she faced the captain again. "I did not expect any human to agree so easily." "Your people are always covered in armor whenever they appear in our records." Orion took a calm breath. "We don't hide because we are afraid," he said. "Most of our worlds have strong gravity, rough weather, unpredictable storms. Armor helps us stay ready when we explore new environments." The princess blinked. To her, Lyrentha was a world of gentle breezes, soft light, and stable climates. Their architecture grew like crystal gardens, adjusting naturally to temperature and wind. Every part of their world was calm and predictable. The idea of a planet where storms roared fiercely and the ground itself might shake felt almost unreal. "So your home is harsh," she murmured. "Harsh," Orion agreed, "but beautiful. It makes us careful. It also makes us prepared." His words filled the hall like a quiet truth. The Lyrenthians had always assumed the heavy human armor was a sign of fear or weakness. Now they began to see it differently. Instead of hiding fragility, the armor might be the habit of a strong species who learned to prepare for anything. The princess's curiosity grew stronger. She felt an urge to understand more about this strange species that defied her expectations at every step. She gave a small smile. Gentler now, not mocking. "You revealed your hands," she said. "Would you show more?" The question felt bold, even to her. She didn't mean it rudely. She simply wanted to continue learning, to see what made humans different. The court held its breath. Many of them exchanged glances, unsure whether she had crossed a boundary. Orion did not look offended. Instead, he studied her expression as if trying to understand her exact intention. When he seemed satisfied that she meant no disrespect, he nodded once. "If it helps build trust between our people," he replied softly, "I am willing." Shaylara's heart gave a tiny jump of surprise, though she kept her face composed. She had expected resistance. Instead, she felt a strange sense of responsibility, as if she needed to treat this moment with more seriousness. Orion reached for the clasp near his shoulder, a small device that connected the upper section of his armor. As he released it, a faint click echoed again. He lifted off the shoulder plating, revealing the black undersuit beneath it. The material was flexible, close to his skin, and far more lightweight. It was not meant for protection. It was simply clothing. The court murmured again. Some leaned forward. Others stepped back in awe. Shaylara stared, surprised by the contrast. The man inside the heavy armor didn't look like someone hiding behind protection. He looked natural, steady, shaped by effort and experience rather than by decoration. "You are not fragile at all," the princess whispered, almost in disbelief. No, Orion said. Humans usually aren't. The princess tilted her head slightly. She was used to reading emotions through colors in her people's skin. She looked for such signs in Orion, but of course she found none. Humans did not glow or shine. Their faces showed feelings through expressions, through eyes and small changes in their voice, but not through light. It made him harder to read, yet strangely more intriguing. One of the young Larenthians in the court asked, "Does it not feel strange to remove your armor in front of us?" Orion looked at him and smiled gently. "A little," he admitted, "but I trust your princess." Shaylara felt warmth in her chest, though she kept her posture straight. She was not used to hearing trust given so easily from someone she barely knew. Most ambassadors praised her people's beauty or technology. Orion, however, offered something simpler and more honest. The princess wanted to continue, but she also felt aware of the environment. Many eyes were watching. She didn't want Orion to feel like a spectacle. She took a breath and spoke with care. "If at any moment you wish to stop," she said softly, "you may say so. I do not want you to feel pressured." Orion nodded with appreciation. "I understand." Shaylara stepped back slightly, giving him a bit more space. "Thank you," she said. "Most ambassadors fear standing out or being different, but you do not seem bothered." Orion looked around the hall. "Humans have always been different," he said. "We grew up on a world that challenged us every day. It made us strong in ways that are sometimes difficult to explain." The princess felt a sense of admiration growing slowly inside her. Not romantic, but respectful, like discovering a new kind of flower that grew between stones instead of soft soil. "So you remove your armor because you want us to understand you better?" she asked. "Yes," he said simply. "Curiosity deserves honesty." She liked that answer more than she expected. It felt genuine, without hidden motives. She took a slow breath and let her eyes travel again across the parts of him now visible. His body was not perfect like the smooth lines of her people, but there was something real in the way he stood, something shaped by struggle and effort rather than by design. "You are not what I imagined," she admitted quietly. "What did you imagine?" Orion asked. Shaylara hesitated, then gave a soft laugh, this time not mocking but almost shy. "I imagined humans as clumsy, awkward, and always nervous without their armor. But you stand comfortably, like someone who has nothing to hide." Orion smiled behind the vest of his helmet. "Sometimes," he said gently, "the things people assume about us are only shadows." The princess held his gaze for a moment longer than she meant to. Everyone in the hall watched them, sensing the shift in atmosphere. What began as amusement was turning into respect. What started as curiosity was becoming admiration. Shaylara stepped back, but only a little. "I want to know more," she said softly. "Not just about your armor, but about your people." Orion nodded. "Ask anything you wish," he replied. And in that moment, the princess realized something important. Humans did not come to her world seeking approval or praise. They came with honesty, resilience, and a quiet strength that needed no shimmering glow or delicate beauty. She had mocked his armor hours ago. Now she understood he wore it not out of fear, but out of purpose. And the man beneath it was more impressive than anything she had expected. The palace hall grew calmer, but the curiosity in the air only grew stronger. Princess Shaylara kept her eyes on Captain Orion. Unable to stop herself from studying every small detail of this human who stood before her without nervousness. The court members whispered softly, but now their voices carried wonder instead of laughter. For the first time since humans arrived on Larentha, the people began to see them as more than odd newcomers in heavy suits. Orion stood quietly, waiting for the princess to speak again. He didn't rush, didn't fidget, and didn't seem uncomfortable even though dozens of eyes watched him closely. This patience surprised Shaylara. Many ambassadors she had met from other worlds tended to talk too much or tried to impress her with long speeches. Orion didn't. He only spoke when needed, and every word felt honest. Shaylara stepped closer again, her movements slow and graceful. She wanted to see him better, wanted to understand why he was so different from what she had expected. She had once believed humans wore armor because they hid weakness. But seeing him now, she felt that the truth was something deeper. "You removed your shoulder piece," she said softly. "Would you reveal more?" "Only if you feel comfortable." Her voice carried no mockery now. Instead, it held genuine interest. The court waited for his answer, their glowing eyes reflecting the crystal lights of the hall. Orion took a moment to respond. He wasn't a man who made choices lightly. After a small pause, he nodded. "I will show you," he said, "because I want you to understand humans fully." Shaylara felt her breath catch for a moment. She hadn't expected him to agree again so easily. He reached for another clasp near his chest, releasing it with a soft click. Then he lifted away the front plate of his armor, revealing more of the black undersuit beneath, a fabric that clung to his form but moved with ease. The hall fell into deeper silence. Many Laurenthians leaned forward, amazed by his willingness. Shaylara's eyes widened, not in shock but fascination. The black material of the undersuit looked simple, yet functional. She saw no decoration, no color-changing patterns, no built-in technology like the garments her people wore. It was purely practical, designed for movement and protection from the environment. "You really do come from a harsh world?" she whispered, observing the sturdiness of the suit. Orion nodded. "Our clothes must help us survive heat, cold, storms, and sudden changes in weather. Not all places on Earth are gentle." Shaylara tried to imagine it. Her world changed slowly and softly. Seasons shifted with smooth transitions. Light never grew too dim or too bright. She had never experienced a sudden storm or a sharp change in temperature. The idea of a world filled with unpredictable challenges made her skin glow a little brighter, a natural sign of excitement. "Your world shaped you," she said, her voice thoughtful. "It shaped all of us," Orion replied. "Humans are used to adapting." Shaylara studied him quietly. She saw strength in the shape of his shoulders, not the sharp or artificially perfect kind she saw in some other species, but the natural strength of someone used to lifting, building, repairing, and enduring. She realized something. Humans were not beautiful in the Lyrenthian sense, but they had a kind of strength that came from real effort. It was a beauty shaped by experience, not design. "What kind of storms do you have?" she asked suddenly. Orion looked amused by the question, but answered patiently. "Some storms come with strong winds, some with heavy rain. Others come with snow or lightning. Humans had to learn how to live through them. That is why we build shelters and use protective clothing." Shaylara blinked slowly. She tried to imagine lightning striking the ground, wind strong enough to shake buildings, or rain falling so heavily that visibility disappeared. Her world had gentle showers and feather-light breezes, nothing more. For the first time, she realized how sheltered her people truly were. "And your species grew strong because of these things?" she asked. "Because of these things," Orion confirmed. "And because we worked together." Shaylara felt admiration growing stronger within her. Humans didn't simply survive challenges, they grew from them. She wondered how much of that strength she could sense if Orion removed more of his armor. But she didn't want to push him. His trust felt valuable, something she needed to respect. However, The curiosity inside her felt like a soft fire she couldn't ignore. "You don't feel strange without your armor?" she asked gently. "In front of all these people?" "A little," he admitted with a small smile. "But seeing your curiosity makes it easier. Besides, I want your people to understand that we are not afraid." The princess took a slow breath. His answer touched her more than she expected. She glanced around at the court and noticed something surprising. The people who had once laughed at his armor were now fascinated, respectful, even slightly humbled. One advisor approached Shaylara quietly. "Princess," he whispered, "perhaps this demonstration is enough. The court is astonished already." Shaylara shook her head slightly. "This is not a demonstration," she answered. "This is understanding." She turned back to Orion. "If I ask for more," she said softly, eyes steady, "you may refuse. I will not take offense. But may you remove the chest covering of your undersuit, only if you feel it is appropriate." The hall became completely still. Orion looked at her with calm eyes. He didn't sense mockery in her voice. He sensed curiosity, respect, and a desire to learn. After a long moment, he nodded a third time. "I will show you," he said gently. Shaylara felt her pulse quicken. She had not expected him to trust her this far. Orion pressed a small control on his undersuit, and the upper layer loosened. He pulled it downward, revealing more of his natural form. Gasps whispered through the hall like soft wind. The princess stared, not in shock, but in astonished admiration. Human skin had no glow, no patterns, no shimmering light. It was simple, warm-toned, marked with faint lines and shapes that spoke of movement, work, and time. The structure beneath it, the muscles, the lines along his torso, showed the natural strength of someone shaped by a strong world. Even without armor, Orion stood tall and balanced. He did not hide himself or act uncomfortable. His confidence came from within, not from clothing or technology. And that confidence made him look unexpectedly impressive. "You are," Shaylara started, but the words failed her. Orion waited patiently. "You are far stronger looking than I imagined," she finally managed. "Your body does not shine or glow, but it has a kind of realness." Orion gave a small nod. "Humans are simple compared to many species," he said, "but we have learned to use everything we have." Shaylara studied him silently. She noticed faint marks on his skin, old lines that were not injuries but signs of past work. Her people healed perfectly, leaving no trace. Humans, she realized, carried their experiences on their bodies. "They tell your story," she whispered. "They do," Orion said quietly. The court watched, completely drawn in. No one laughed now. No one mocked. Every person in the hall saw the same truth. Humans were not fragile beings hiding behind metal. They were strong, adaptable, and unafraid to reveal themselves when it mattered. Shaylara's eyes softened. She stepped closer again, stopping only a short distance from him. "I thought your armor was a shell that hid fear," she said, "but now I see it was simply a tool. The one hiding was actually me." Orion tilted his head slightly. "Hiding from what?" "From understanding what is unfamiliar," she admitted, "from seeing beyond my own world." Orion smiled gently. "Then I am glad I could help." Shaylara held his gaze, feeling a connection growing between them, not romantic, not dramatic, but human and sincere. He had shown her more than any diplomat ever had. He showed trust, strength, and humility. "You took off your armor," she said softly, "and now my people see the truth." Orion looked around at the hall. "Yes," he agreed, "and I hope they see we come with peace." Shaylara nodded. "They do. And I do too." The moment felt warm, delicate, and meaningful. A bridge between two species had formed, not with grand speeches, but with simple honesty. And the princess knew something. When this day ended, she would never forget the moment the human captain removed his armor and revealed the strength her world had never known. Armand woke up before the sun rose, but this time it was not fear or worry that opened his eyes. It was excitement, the quiet kind that slowly grows inside a person when they know something important is waiting for them. Outside his window, the early morning sky looked pale and soft, like a painting that was still being completed. The city around him was silent, but he could already feel a change in the air, something he had not felt in a long time. Hope that did not hurt. He sat up slowly and stretched his hands toward the ceiling. Memories from the previous day returned to him like warm light. He remembered the satellite signals they had discovered, the possibility that other human outposts still existed somewhere far across space, and the quiet confidence Dr. Saira had shown when she said they were close to unlocking the final piece of information. Armand had spent years believing Earth's people were alone, forgotten among the stars, but last night he had gone to sleep with a feeling he had never experienced before. It was the feeling that maybe humanity's story was not ending, but beginning again. He stepped out of his small apartment and found the hallway already lit. Many people were awake earlier than usual. Some were whispering to each other, passing rumors like little sparks. Someone had seen Dr. Saira walking quickly toward the research center. Someone else had heard that the strange energy spike had increased overnight. Everyone seemed to know something, even if they did not know the whole truth. Armand simply smiled politely at those who noticed him and continued walking. He preferred to wait for real answers rather than hold on to guesses. When he reached the research center, the doors opened with a soft whoosh. Inside, the usual quiet hum of machines felt louder than normal. The lights seemed brighter too, as if the building itself knew something big was coming. Armand entered the main lab and immediately noticed Dr. Saira standing in front of a large holographic screen. She had not slept much. Her eyes were tired, but they shined with strong purpose. "You're early," she said without turning around. "And you didn't sleep," Armand replied. She finally faced him, smiling gently. "Sleep can wait. Today is important." Armand stepped closer. "Did the readings change again?" "They did. The signal is repeating more clearly now. I think the outpost on the far colony is trying to communicate. They must have detected our scanner pulses and responded." "Does that mean they're alive?" Armand asked softly. Dr. Saira looked at the screen again. "It means there is a possibility, and we are going to find out." Armand felt his chest grow warm with quiet excitement. For years, humans living in this sector had survived with limited technology and even more limited hope. They believed the central human colonies had collapsed long ago, leaving only scattered groups trying to hold on in small pockets of the universe. But the signal changed everything. If another outpost existed, it meant humanity was not as broken as everyone thought. It meant the story was still connected. Dr. Saira handed Armand a small digital tablet. "I want you to monitor the atmospheric readings while I prepare the long-range amplifier. If the signal strengthens again, we might be able to send a full message back." Armand nodded and began his work. His hands moved carefully over the controls, adjusting values, scanning fluctuations, and comparing data. Hours passed quietly, but neither he nor Dr. Saira felt tired. It was the kind of focus that made time feel slippery, as if the outside world did not exist at all. Around midday, a soft chime echoed across the lab. The signal had changed again, this time sharper and more organized. Dr. Saira's eyes widened. "This is it," she whispered. Armand leaned closer to his screen. "The signal pattern is stabilizing. It looks intentional." She activated the main receiver, and a long, soft wave of light spread across the holographic display. They watched as the strange pattern pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Armin felt something in his chest respond to it. "It feels alive," he said without thinking. "It is communication," Dr. Sarah said. "Someone is sending a message." She typed a sequence, and the signal slowly translated into a simple visual code. A single symbol blinked onto the screen. Armin had never seen it before, but Dr. Sarah recognized it instantly. She placed a hand over her mouth, almost overwhelmed. "That is the emblem of the old Central Alliance," she said softly. "It means they survived. At least some of them did." Armin looked at her with amazement. "So humans out there still have advanced systems?" "Yes," she replied, her voice almost trembling. "And they want us to know." Before they could react further, the lab doors opened and Commander Rehan rushed in. His usually calm expression had changed into something much more alert, even excited. "I received your alert," he said. "Tell me everything." Dr. Sarah explained as quickly and clearly as she could. Commander Rehan listened without interrupting. When she finished, he took a deep breath and looked at both of them. "This means we are no longer isolated," he said. "This changes our entire future." Armin felt his heart beating fast. It was strange to imagine that people far across the galaxy, people who shared the same history and roots, were reaching out to them now. For so long, their community had believed they were forgotten, but this single message proved otherwise. Commander Rehan placed a hand on the table. "We need to prepare a response, and we need to do it carefully. We don't know the condition of the far colony or what they expect from us." Dr. Sarah nodded. "I'm already working on a simple reply, something safe but clear." Armin watched as she drafted a greeting message containing their location, status, and peaceful intentions. It was simple but strong, a reminder that humanity never loses its spirit even in the darkest places. When Dr. Sarah finished, she looked at Armin. "Would you like to send it?" Armin froze for a moment. "Me? You helped discover the signal," she said gently. "You deserve to be the one who sends our first message." Armin felt something warm settle inside him, a mixture of pride, disbelief, and quiet joy. He placed his hand on the console, waited for the system to confirm readiness, and then pressed the glowing button that sent their message into the vastness of space. The moment felt almost unreal. The room was silent, but Armin knew the silence was full of meaning. It carried the weight of years, the hopes of thousands, and the promise of a new beginning. Commander Rehan spoke softly. "Now we wait." The hours that followed passed slowly. People outside the research center continued their days without knowing the full story, though whispers grew louder with every moment. Inside the lab, Armin stayed beside Dr. Sarah, watching the monitors closely. Even the machines seemed to sense the importance of the day, their soft hum blended with the beating of Armin's heart. It was late evening when the signal returned. Not weak, not broken, strong and steady. Armin's breath caught. Dr. Sarah's hand shook. Commander Rehan stepped closer. A new symbol appeared on the holographic screen. This time, the message was longer. Armin felt his pulse race as the translation program worked through the code. Slowly, carefully, the symbols reshaped themselves into simple words. "We hear you. You are not alone." Dr. Sarah covered her mouth again, tears forming in her eyes this time. Commander Rehan let out a deep breath that sounded like relief he had held for many years. Armin felt something inside him shift, like a door opening to a future he had never dared to imagine. He whispered to himself, "They're out there, and they know we're here." Outside the research center, the sky had turned dark, but the stars seemed brighter than usual. As Armin walked toward the window, he looked up at the endless space stretching far beyond the colony. For the first time, he did not feel small. For the first time, he felt connected. For the first time, he felt that humanity's story among the stars was only beginning.